And are there other tools that you work with that can give students a behind the scenes of understanding how digital marketing applies? Because I think marketing, a lot of people would think of it, oh, we just create beautiful ads. But do you do the creative part of it, or is it just the data piece of it?
It's an excellent question. I think it's also interesting to know how the marketing industry has evolved a lot. One of the struggles I find with speaking to students that, for example, are in marketing, the other day I did, SMU is a big university here in Singapore, and I did like a mentorship call where we're kind of virtually engaging with the students, and the students could kind of ask questions, and it was really, really interesting. And they were all marketing students. And I think we're selling it wrongly, in the totally wrong spectrum of what marketing should be. Everyone thinks, and students are kind of in this mentality that I'm going to become a marketer, change the tagline of a company, do this huge TV ad, and I'm going to be, winning awards, and I'm going to be this kind of messiah for this brand that I'm going to represent. But marketing is no longer that. It hasn't been that actually in a long, long time. You go to Cannes these days, which was and still is probably the biggest advertising festival in the world. And the companies that you would see having big boats were the creative agencies, creative agencies, big media groups. You go to Cannes now, the big boats are Facebook, Google, Twitter, Spotify. So those are the companies that really have nailed advertising. And it was really by using what we've discussed before, and what I think is advertising these days is who are your customers? So how can you understand data, your data? How can you apply that data to do good creative? So creative based on actual proper data and insights you have on your consumers, and how can you be dynamic and use technology to create multiple iterations of creative, and creative that is useful for the platforms that people are using. But to be honest, I just think universities and whoever curates that course need to be honest about what marketing is. It's not as sexy, correct? But if you come in with the idea that you're going to sit down in a room and have a glass of whiskey and think about, the next big thing for Coca-Cola, it's not. So you might as well set the expectations right from the start, and filter down the people that are interested in data, that are interested in, do you know what I mean? In data analytics and topics like that, which are going to be essentially what you do as a marketer. I mean, there's no one, probably there's 5 marketers in the world that still operate like that. And they are incredibly well respected, and they've been working in marketing for 20, 30, 40 years. There's no one walking into a marketing job today that in the next 10 years is even going to be in that position, and the tasks that they're going to be asked to do are these, look at dashboards, how can you make sense of social media, we have a creative team, how can we do 2,000 iterations of a display banner, how we do that, this is our KPIs, we need to sell more products on an e-com platform, what would you recommend? How do you recommend us to drive users there and sell our product? You won't be able to do this by thinking like that. The thinking that it has to be a mathematical, data-focused thinking.